Well, welcome back, everybody. We are on episode 14 and happy to have Ritch Wiebe join us.
Hi, glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And of course, Ben is still filling in for the
married man.
For the missing married man.
Yeah.
And so we're glad to have Ben back.
Yeah. Thank you.
For those of you that do not know, Ritch actually has a very deep history with the skate scene in Portage. And that is a big reason why we have you here today. Besides the fact that we always enjoy talking to you, and any chance we can, we're happy to do that. But specifically for this, for the podcast, we do want to talk about some of the going-ons that happened over the years that you were a part of. And so last episode we had Matt Andruszak here, and he talked about some of the history of skateboarding in Portage, and some of that stuff that he's talking about, you're a part of. And so it's going to be fun to hear your perspective on some of the same era of skateboarding in Portage.
Yes, it's Matt Andruszak's been in the skate scene as long as I remember, pretty much. Mm-hmm. He was a young little fellow when he started, and got to know him.
Let's talk about that, where you started. Do you remember kind of the first kind of skateboard involvement that you had?
Well, the very first memory that I can think of that involves skateboarding was helping unload those metal ramps onto the platform.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where they got built and who built them, but I remember them helping unload them and moving them around on the platform.
Okay. Yeah, the good old metal ramps, which are sitting at Dakota Teepee now, and we actually used for skate camp last summer. So they're still getting used, which is awesome.
Well, I've never ridden those ramps.
That's too bad.
Yeah, we should go sometime like this summer or something, and just
Yeah, I burnt my hands on those a couple times.
Before they were painted with them, because they were raw metal.
Yep.
In the hot sun, like it was a dark, rusty metal color.
Yep.
And there was a few guys that would wipe out on those things and leave skin behind. Like it would just
you can't wear shorts.
It would sear your skin.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Cook some eggs on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. On a hot day, those things were hot.
Yep.
They've since been painted a lighter color, and so they're not as bad. But when we were using them this summer, some of them still, like where the paints come off and stuff, when the kids fell, they were like, "Oh, that's hot."
Yep. Because I remember on the half pipe trying to climb up, like run up the ramp and grab the top, and then just letting go because it was so hot.
Mm-hmm.
Sliding down would be awful if it was that hot too. Hey?
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were bad for that, but well-built ramps, and they've had a lot of use over the years for sure.
Yeah. And then most of the time, well, at the very start, it was a lot of BMXers were on those ramps.
Right.
I do remember.
Some of those ramps, the way they were built, they were actually probably better designed for bike than they were for skateboarding.
Yes.
A few of them were really good for skateboarding, but a lot of them, like a 6.5 foot quarter pipe, is pretty big to hit on a skateboard if you're...
Yeah, like you can't like rock to fake or anything. You can't learn anything.
Like you need to hit a lot of speed to do it, and so unless they're set up in a way that you can use it as like a half pipe, it was pretty hard to get speed with a skateboard to get to the top of that thing.
And wasn't that like a box jump too, or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the box jump.
You don't see many skaters riding box jumps.
No. But we had it set up with the rolling in Campbell Soup, in the indoor at Campbell Soup, with the box jump. And I know Matt Andruszak, he used to hit that thing all the time doing his indies over there. And I like hitting it with my skateboard as well. I just like doing shove, like air to shove it on there.
Yeah.
It was good for breaking boards. Always landing on the tail.
Lots of guys broke the boards on that one.
But yeah, so they started out at the original platform on top of the cement pad.
Yep.
And then they got moved into Campbell Soup later. But what else would you remember from from the pad, from the platform time?
Well, I remember sitting on, like, it was a 2-staged. They had the lower level and the upper level, and they had that ramp, a cement ramp part of it that was there. I remember sitting on there and watching some of the kids that could ollie pretty good, ollie off the top onto the bottom. That was pretty cool to watch. Then you saw a few kids hit the cracks in the cement and go for tumbles and stuff like that. And I just remember sitting there watching these kids coming all over town, just up the street, just coming just to be there. And we have quite a few kids, young ones and older ones.
And then, like, were you involved in, like, bringing all those ramps to Campbell's Soup then?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, loading them on flat deck trailers and driving them over there. I don't remember too much of getting them into the building there. I don't remember that too much. I remember helping them move them around.
Yeah.
And setting them up. But we set them up one way, and then we moved them around and set up a little bit different. We made changes to it.
Kind of like the cameras in here?
Yeah.
Kind of like the cameras in here. Keep moving them. Yeah.
We'll
get it right one day.
Yeah.
Kept making changes until we got it down. And then when we started building the wood ramps in there, then it really felt like home. Mm-hmm. Then it was lots of sweeping. Remember that in the one episode you guys were talking about sweeping that place. I swept that floor I don't know how many times.
And were you just there, like, hanging out, or were you volunteering there or working there or what?
I was volunteering and working. I did 2 or 3 nights a week.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was there quite a bit.
And is that just like supervising, or was there like a little shop that you worked in there or something?
I did both. Okay. Supervising, working in the shop, kept the videos going. You know, that one loop of the song, you know, you got tired of that, press play again. And then we would just keep, and then we had snacks in there, chocolate bars and stuff that we sold. And so I run the till, check out, and signing kids in. Yeah. You know, I don't know if we had a sign out system, but we had kids sign
in. Yeah. And Ritch did a lot of the setting up boards for kids too, which was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got pretty good at gripping those boards.
Nice.
And then some of those kids, they wanted the different colors and the different shapes that they would see in videos. Yeah. So I got to learn to do a little bit of that stuff and try to make it fancy for them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing that was such a big asset that you brought to the skate community was just being willing with the camera all the time, like whether it's taking still pictures or video. Like guys just loved having you around because then somebody was recording.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the kids liked it that I was recording because I wasn't the one that was skating. So they didn't have to take turns holding the camera.
Yeah, that's a big thing actually, hey, because it's hard to choose who's filming and who's riding a lot of the time. Yeah.
And I wanted to, and I watched these videos, like the pros doing it, where they have the guy following behind on the skateboard and like so that it was a nice flow to the video. So I figured, you know what, I need to learn how to skateboard, at least enough to roll around, push myself around, and follow. And I tried so hard, and I had a bad knee, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it hurt lots, and I just said, you know what, I can't do this. So I do the running behind and stuff.
Yeah.
And I tried to be creative by sitting in the middle of the jumps and get them coming in, do the jump, and get them rolling out. Mm-hmm. And try to do that as smooth as possible and with the zoom and everything. And took a lot of practice, but I got some videos that I think were pretty good.
We actually, I'm pretty sure that you're responsible for a huge chunk of the videos that we have archived and on tapes that Ben is eventually gonna.
Yeah, I'll probably see a lot of your filming at some point here.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you might see my feet in there once in a while.
Do you stamp on the videos with the feet?
Steve taught me how you put your hand in front of the camera so that you can stop.
You mark it.
Yeah, to mark where a good trick was or something.
Yeah.
And so you'll see my hand in there, and I always wore a ring on my left hand, and that generally got put in the videos lots.
Yeah.
It's funny, some of the footage that Ben's already got off, we have footage where somebody didn't understand how the whole idea of marking the video with your hand worked.
Yeah.
And what they did is they held their hand in front of it while recording until the person was going to do the trick. And then they moved their hand.
Yeah.
And as soon as the person was done the trick, they put their hand in front again.
It was basically just like black, and then it would like, they would move it, like I would come, fall, and then the hand would go over again.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like you can just turn it off. You know, you can click like,
exactly.
and then click record when it starts.
And we were trying to figure out who, because I'm like, there's no way Ritch was doing that, because he knew how to mark the video properly. And
Yeah.
we're like, who in the world was taking the footage and like putting their hand in front of? And it wasn't like they weren't just doing it when somebody landed a trick. They were doing it between every take.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
No, that wasn't
that was
me.
rough to watch through.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't me. I did like funny things where I shake the fingers, make a little in front of the camera, just to be something stupid for Steve to see, whoever's doing the editing.
For me to see now.
So you'll see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, now when you see the twinkly fingers, you'll know who it is.
Yeah.
Then the skate trips. I remember a lot of those. Or maybe I'm jumping too far ahead.
Well, you can jump around wherever you want. Yeah,
Oh.
we can talk about
How many
that.
did you go on?
All of them.
All of them?
Well, some of the later ones I didn't do, like some of the trips to Winnipeg, but I did a lot of the trips out west. I was the main driver in the van.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
And so I remember driving all the way from Portage to Saskatoon.
Mm-hmm.
We spent night there, and then I drove all the way to Edmonton. We stayed there for a couple of days, didn't we? That was my most favorite. Edmonton. We stayed there at the Millennium Park.
That was Calgary.
Oh,
Yeah,
the Calgary had
we
them
stayed
on?
a couple nights.
A couple nights there. But I think from Edmonton to Calgary, I believe you drove.
One of the things that I just thought of just now about those trips, remember the early ones before flat screen DVD players and stuff in vehicles? And we would mount the little 13-inch TV, and then we'd plug the camcorder into it.
Yep.
And then the guys could watch the footage while we're driving.
Yep.
Nice.
But we would also, because Ritch was driving, usually I was sitting shotgun.
Yeah.
And we wanted to watch too. So we would mount the camcorder on the dash and flip the screen around so we could watch on the little camcorder screen while we're driving.
Yeah.
And the guys were watching on the 13-inch, like
And
one
you're
of
just
those big cube TVs.
Yep.
You're
We had that
just watching
mounted.
like the footage that you got from the session that like you just had, or are you watching like older stuff or what?
Yeah, we
did have a VHS player
Yeah.
right.
in the van, and
That's right.
they would play videos, but they also played movies.
Right.
Because I remember listening, because I was the driver and I was right in the TV was right behind my head.
Yeah.
In fact, they had it somehow strapped to the back of my seat,
Yeah.
so that it didn't fall over.
we used some kind of bungee cord or something to strap it to the backside of the driver's seat, so it was kind of up high enough that all the kids could see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I listened to them watching movies.
Yeah.
The first movie I ever listened to was Spider-Man. And it was a good thing that I seen these movies beforehand,
Okay,
because
that's
I
good.
could just picture. I learned to enjoy listening to movies that I've already seen because of that. Because I could just sit there and just think of the scenes in my head as these guys watched them, and it made the trip go by very nicely.
No, I bet. Yeah. It would be hard to get used to, especially if it was stuff that you hadn't seen before though.
Yeah,
That would have been rough.
When they watched a movie I didn't know, then it was like, oh, I want to see that. I want to see that.
Next time you'll just next time like you get to the hotel and you just put it in, but you turn the sound off because you've already heard it.
Yeah.
You just watch it.
That's what it should. Yeah.
That's a good idea,
Yeah.
actually.
It's good.
And then every town we're at, I would take the camera, get up on top of one of the high ramps or off to the one side, and I would with the video, I'd comb the ramps, like all the skate park, and get a whole shot of everything. Something that I always wanted, I always did, so I would even remember the parks.
Yeah.
And I could look back at the footage, whether Steve put them in the tapes or not. But I tried to do that at most of the parks. And but the park that intrigued me the most was the Millennium Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge. And watching all those, there's so many people there and at way different levels of ability, but just to see them pull off all kinds of tricks, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It would be fun if we had some of that footage of you like scanning the park like that. It'd be funny to have that in. I don't know where it would be. I do remember you doing that, and I remember it being valuable afterwards because we'd talk about things that we liked about certain parks and things we didn't like, and we could just go back to the footage and be like, and it would have a shot of the whole park, and so it was easy to talk about skate parks and things that we appreciated about different skate parks.
One thing that I always dreamed about too, and that's why I was doing it, like if you could take the best of every park and put it into one park, it would be here in Portage.
Yeah.
Hopefully one of these days it might happen.
Well, we are in the process now of getting a design made to have a skate park. So
I almost wore my park shirt today. I was so close.
And so, yeah, you're going to have to come be part of the design because since you're so familiar with all the parks and what's good and what isn't.
We need the kids to also, they're the ones that actually rode.
For sure.
Yeah,
and they're going to have their input, but I'm sure you would have some good things to say too, as somebody who spent a lot of hours in parks.
Yep.
And I think that's so cool that even though like you didn't skateboard, you just loved it so much, and you just got involved, like just driving and stuff.
Yeah,
and filming. That's so sick.
That's where it came into the community part of it.
Yeah.
Have the relationship with those boys, and it was awesome to be part of their lives and seeing them grow up. Like I remember kids starting off skateboarding, grow up, move on, and then another group of kids would come and they would grow up and move on. And some of them stuck around, like Matt Andershak. He went through many years.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy Fair was another fellow that always stuck around.
Mm-hmm.
And then like those guys were around, and then it was the young kids like Clint Riskus. He was on here, and he was one of those that started after, and then he was kind of the young kids around Matt and those guys. And like Nick Wall, he skateboarded, and then his younger brother came.
Yeah, Rhett,
and he was phenomenal on the board, and I think he still skates.
Yeah, now he mostly surfs, I think.
Okay. But just to see
we
how
won't hold that against him.
And so just to see how they grew up and be part of that, it's been quite an event in my life that's been powerful.
Yeah.
I would think, and even just talking about the community and being part of that group and relationships and stuff, like I would think, I would know that you still have relationships or friendships out of that. Like I think of even today running into Nick Wall and having a conversation, right? Like people that through that era of hanging out at the skate park, and people that you meet in town that you would know them because of that time, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Because you weren't skating, you probably had more opportunity to talk to like the parents or like maybe a girlfriend that's hanging around, or a friend that doesn't skate but is like came along with a friend or something, and so because you also weren't skating, you had opportunity to connect with them, I assume. Yeah,
especially at the Campbell Soup.
Mm-hmm.
The parents would come in, they would drop off the kids, sign their kids in, and they would hang around in the shack there and visit with me. And sometimes they would just stand there in the window and watch their kids skateboard, and it was good to get to know the parents.
Yeah,
I just thought of it. One of the strong parts that I remember is we had a skateboarder, and I'm trying to think of his name, but he hit the box in the middle, and he fell, and he came down onto his wrist, and he broke his wrist. And he come running to the shack, grabbing his wrist, shaking his hand up and down, and saying, "I think I broke my wrist. I think I broke my hand."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Okay." And I just didn't think twice and got him in my car. And I'm not sure who called the parents, but they met us at the.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because Shaq was talking about on the last episode.
Yeah.
And we couldn't remember who drove him to the hospital.
Yeah, we had this exact conversation.
Oh, okay.
and I said, I think one of us said, like, who drove him, and they couldn't remember.
Yeah. No, it was me.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. I drove him to the hospital, and I met his parents there, and can still remember his dad's face. And I thought I was in trouble. I thought that the parents are going to start yelling at me because his kid got hurt at the park, and the parents were just so thankful that I took them there and took good care of them. I just Thomas, right? Thank you. Been racking my brain on that one.
Yeah,
and telling them to stop moving your hand. Like, he's even in the car, shaking his hand. I think it's broken. I said, it is, and just stop moving it. But it hurts. Well, that's why it hurts.
Yeah, the way he was flopping that thing around, it was a sight to see for sure.
Yeah.
I guess whenever you go into shock like that, it's like, can't really feel it. So
yeah,
you can just see it dangling.
And it's funny that, like, obviously it was impacting because Matt Andershak remembered it. I remembered it. You remember that. Like, we didn't have that many injuries there, but
no,
I mean, that one was dramatic just because of the way he was running around with that thing flailing.
Yep. And then, we had a lot of scrapes, knee bruises, and elbows, and
you were very familiar with our first aid kit.
Yep. Yeah.
What kind?
Keeping it stocked.
Obviously, like, helmets. Wait, did you have to wear helmets in there?
And then, like, was wearing helmets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there, like, at a certain age you had to wear, like, knee pads? I know some places are like that, isn't there?
No,
I don't know.
No, we had them available if people wanted to use them, but it wasn't required.
Okay, yeah. I think most places actually aren't required.
I remember, though, too, the parents making, especially the younger ones, the parents making them put the knee pads on and the elbow pads. And once they saw their parents going out the door, they were off. They were gone. They wanted to be like the older kids, and they wanted to be able to skate around without the pads on.
Yeah.
The best thing is when you see the seasoned ones, or the ones that came on a regular basis, and then you get a new kid come in and doesn't want to follow the rules. And then the older one comes up to him and says, "Just put the helmet on." That was really good to see, because they took ownership of the park, even though they were just kids that hung out. And so it was really good to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And that was, I agree. That was one of the things that being part of the community is about, right? Like, and that's, skateboarding is like that. It's one of the things that attracted me to skateboarding is this idea that the older ones are bringing up the younger ones.
Yep.
And I guess I have a hard time seeing that in other activities or sports because typically you look at, like, hockey or soccer or whatever, they split you up according to age.
Yes.
And so you're typically with your own age, and I understand why they do it, because skill level and size can be dangerous to have multiple.
Yeah.
But in skateboarding, because you have everyone skating in the same space, and it really gives an opportunity for the older ones to coach or to really help the younger ones. And then as they grow, because it's part of the culture, they do the same thing, which is, it's an amazing thing. And so whether it's park etiquette, teaching kids like how to have proper etiquette in the park.
And that's something they have to teach, like, whether they want to or not, because they're sharing the same space, you know? Like, that's going to be taught, like, regardless.
Yeah, and sometimes it's taught in a positive way where an older guy will come alongside and just like, "Hey, dude, that's not how it works here."
Yeah.
Or it can be just like, "If you don't move, you're going to get hurt."
Yeah.
I'm going to plow into you.
that was that's helpful for me. Like even just like being around like so many skateboard and stuff in the Portage scene. It's like I learned real quick, and I wasn't one of those kids who just would go like whatever, but like going like long plane and stuff. It was helpful. So I'd be kind of standing there looking around, like, is it good to go? But I know some kids just kind of go nuts, but it was helpful, like being around like every Tuesday night, going along playing with you guys and just kind of like making sure I knew like when to go and stuff. And that made me more comfortable, like going to Winnipeg, going to.
Yeah. And it's that idea of like where a lot of, like I said, a lot of activities lose that because of they separate by age.
Yeah.
And with skateboarding, you have that opportunity where the older ones can really mentor younger ones.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to watch when that happens and when it happens in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is times, not very often, but especially when you went to different cities, you would see the older kids working on their tricks, but then all of a sudden a kid from that community will roll by them and then maybe, 5-6 years younger than them and pulling off tricks that they'd never even thought of doing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there is no age gap here. It's just how much time you spend. And there's also the natural talent, because you see some kids come in and never skateboarded before and they just pick it up. They just are natural at it. And they just, so it took away the barriers of age.
Yeah.
When it becomes down to skill, like they categorize themselves in skills. And then it wasn't that they pushed those ones that couldn't do it away. They would be helping them to get them into their peers.
Yeah. And
into those groups.
It's motivation for them too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember guys like Brendan Sanderson. He was so young when he used to skate here in Portage. He was like, I don't know, he was 11, 12 years old when he started skating out here. But his skill level was at a place where he was skating with the older guys.
Yeah.
And hitting the same obstacles and doing the same tricks as them. And so, but it didn't matter. Like, it was because he could ride the same stuff as them. He was welcome to join them. And yeah, that's the awesome, like you say, it's more about your hunger or skill than age.
Yes. Yeah. And it was always good to see, like at the skate park in Campbell Soup, how they always took turns going down the ramps or working on the half pipe and stuff like that. And then even when there wasn't somebody there that didn't have the skill, they would go down and they would fall from just dropping in. They would fall and they would come back up. And because their turn was so short, they would say, "Hey, just try it again. Just go ahead."
Yeah.
And it was good to see that they would encourage and not just, "Okay, your turn's done. Now it's my turn." It was very little of that.
Yeah, that's something that Steve talks about a lot. It's just like kind of the acceptance of the whole skate community. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that about like if your turn was really short to get another turn to keep going. I remember, and some of the guys might remember this too, it was always rebates. That was what we'd say. You get rebates.
Yeah.
You get to go again.
That's a lot in like games of skate too. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last trick rebate.
Yeah. You spent a lot of time at Campbell Soup. It was volunteer hours is what it was for you there.
Yes.
And yet you put in tons of time. I think for the most part between the two of us, we probably ran almost every session there.
Pretty much, yes.
How many years was it open?
5 years?
5-6 years, something like that.
Yeah. And then plus coming on trips. What would be some of the top memories from trips? Like, you were on some of those crazy ones. You were on that crazy one where that Matt Andershak was talking about, where we were on the verge of getting kicked out of the hotel every night.
Yeah. It was so hard to get them to be quiet and stop skateboarding in the hallways. I think there was what the biggest problem was, wasn't it?
Well, remember he talked about the soap in the...
Oh, the soap in the hot tub. Oh, that was brutal. I remember feeling so scared, and I wasn't even part of it.
I loved seeing the light bulb go out. He knew there was something else that had happened.
Yeah, there was. Oh, That was a rough.
Did you have to deal?
group.
I know Steve had to deal with like the manager or whatever.
Yeah,
did you have to
Steve
deal with the manager
no,
too?
I didn't deal with the manager so much. It was just trying to be a support for Steve with the kids.
Yeah.
It's like trying to get them to stop this.
Yeah.
Like, just stop. Remembering, too, that it's fun doing that kind of stuff.
Oh, we had a blast those days. I mean, there was definitely some stress around that. You
Yeah.
remember when we lost kids in Regina?
Oh, you told me about it before. That's awful.
Our first night was in Regina, and we pull into the travel lodge, and the guys have been sitting in the vehicle for 5 days. For 5 days, yeah, no,
5 hours.
5 hours, and so they just want to get out and skate, and we had bikers on that trip, so they were biking around and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they asked, can we like be out, like we were getting checked in and everything. They're like, is it okay if we skate and ride out here or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Well, a few guys bikers decided that it was pretty boring on the parking lot of the hotel. And so they went on a street mission, but they didn't tell anybody. And Andy Fair came back. He had gone with them, and he comes back and he's freaking out.
You remember this now? Yeah.
Yep.
He's sure that those guys got jumped or something, and they ended up in a bad part of Regina, and he was just in panic mode.
Yeah.
And so we jump in the van and we go driving around looking for these guys. We cannot find them.
What time is this now? How long have they been gone?
I think he got back around 1 in the morning.
But what time did they leave at?
I don't remember what time, like.
I think it would have been, we got there around 8 or 9.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was dark already. And so we're driving around. I can't find these guys. And he's trying to remember where he was.
Yeah.
Because we had him in the vehicle with us. And I think I was here and he couldn't remember where he had been. He was in such a panic state.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out, and we can't find these guys.
And like, no phones, obviously.
No phones in those days.
No, that's brutal.
And so what do you do eventually, right? Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, do we just drive around Regina and all night long, or
ask locals where the best street spots are? Go look there.
Meanwhile, we've got guys back at the hotel that we got to make sure that they're not getting in trouble. And
wait, were you looking as well, or were you staying back with the guys?
I was with you for a while driving around, but then I stayed back.
So then, it's getting, I can't remember what time, like we're getting to like 2:30 in the morning, I think.
Yeah.
And this is the first night of our week-long trip.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to already think, how am I going to phone these guys' parents and tell them that I lost their kids on the first night of the trip?
Yeah, that's the worst.
This is not, like, I don't want to have to file a missing kid report on the first night. Like, this is not good.
No.
And I think it was like around 3, probably after 3:00 in the morning, they showed up. And I was like, where have you guys been? And I was like pretty upset because they just rolled up.
Back to the hotel.
Yeah, just rolled up to the hotel, and I start like laying into them because I'm stressed out over this, and so I'm laying into them, and they're looking at me like, what's your problem?
How old were they?
Yep.
I don't know what they would have been, like probably 14.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that the first guy thought that something had happened to him. Like, I don't know. I wonder why he came back so quick.
He knew that he wasn't right to be gone.
That's actually.
I don't actually know. All I know is that he came back and he was freaking out, and then we had to. I don't know if I would have known they were missing if he wouldn't have come back. I don't remember that, but I just remember, like, okay, from now on, nobody goes anywhere without letting somebody know.
Yeah,
like, you can't just roll off to find a spot somewhere. Like, we have to have some control here.
Yep.
What would be a memory for you on
I
some of
remember,
those trips?
I think it was Calgary as well. We hit this, like, we're at Millennial Skate Park at night. Mm-hmm. It was dark. And then the kids all of a sudden wanted to hit the town. they want to do stair sets and all kinds of stuff around town. And I remember driving the van around the city, and these kids' faces glued at night. Yeah. Faces glued to the windows of the van, looking down the streets and stop here. And they'd run out the van and they would do a trick or two at this one place, and we'd be filming it and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, let's go, or we get kicked out or whatever, get back in the van, and we'd be driving around. And I remember not knowing where I am in the city, driving down and turning down this street, turning down that street. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And got to see the city in a whole new way.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that before, hey? Like it's, yeah.
And we used to do it in Winnipeg all the time too.
Yeah.
Just drive around Winnipeg and...
You're looking for completely different things, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there'd be a ledge or something that the one guy would want to jump off of, and we would just do it just for that guy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was a rail or something that somebody wanted to do. We just do that rail. And that stuff like that would happen. But I remember I believe it was Calgary, and doing that and around the city, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
We did a lot of that on those trips with Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah. Yeah. And always Banff will always stick in my mind too. The skate park there was on, I believe it was a tennis court.
At that time it was, yeah. They got a real skate park now, but at that time
Then it was a tennis court, and they had just, I think, wooden and some metal ramps, I believe. And I remember the highlight for me there was being downtown there where the river ran through, and we were in the park there kind of, and a few of us went in the water in the river, and it was ice cold.
Oh, I saw that footage.
You saw the footage?
I saw that footage.
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
Just like the last tape I went through like a few months ago, I saw you guys go in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was ice cold, man.
That
was
awesome. That was like probably actually the most entertaining tape I watched yet. Because like up until this point, there's been like almost no good skateboarding. But I just remember like, guys are going to the water so cold.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a fun, memorable event.
What about, because you also joined us for California one year.
Oh,
I did 2 years.
2 years of California, okay.
Yeah. Well,
That's
one year
sick.
I went as a staff person, and the second year I got to go because one of the boys in the group home wanted to go and had the money to go, and they said that he couldn't go unless one of the staff from the group home went. And it's got to be me. And that was Eric. Eric Cool.
You're like, I guess I'll go to California.
Yes.
Sure.
And so I did two California trips.
Anything that sticks out for you out of that trip?
Not really. I don't remember so much of that.
Someday we'll get Kevin Beauchamp on here. And one of the funny things that happened with Kevin Beauchamp, I'm not sure if it was when you were there or not, but we were, I can't remember which community we were in, but we were looking for the skate park. And this is back before the days of Google Maps and that. It was, I think we had like the GPS unit that stuck onto the window of the vehicle, like the little screen, and you punch stuff in.
Yeah.
And Kevin Beauchamp was riding shotgun in the van. And so we thought we knew where the skate park was, and we couldn't find it. So he's like, okay, I'll just punch it into the GPS.
Yeah.
And so he punches it in and he puts it up, and I'm driving, and I'm driving, and we're climbing up this hill, and we just like keep like doing these switchbacks. We're going up, whatever. And it's just this, and it's getting like further away from the houses and buildings and stuff. It's starting to get a little bit more remote.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's just up ahead. And so we pull up around the corner, and I don't remember anything about the sign except for there was this big wooden sign right in front of us, and it said whatever the name of the place was, State Park. And I'm like, I don't think we found the skate park.
No, I don't remember that.
That's so funny. It's so disappointing too. It's a long drive, hey?
Yeah, all the kids in the van just waiting to skate.
Just around the corner.
And we're just following the way to the state park.
I also love that you just had full confidence in him. You didn't double check the GPS.
Oh, no. No.
That's so funny.
That's one thing I'd like to get back into. If we ever did the trips, I'd like to do those.
Mm-hmm.
And, we did the snowboard trip to Panorama.
You did a snowboard trip?
Oh,
We did a snowboard trip to Panorama, yeah.
Nice.
We had quite a few of the skateboarders that came on that as well. And the highlight of that trip was the helicopter.
Oh, yeah, you went for a helicopter
yes.
ride. Yeah.
That's awesome.
There was two of us that couldn't, we didn't snowboard. And that was me and Joel Friesen.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a helicopter pad there with a couple helicopters. So we figured out how much it was and how much it cost each of us to pay to go on this. And 4 of us chipped in the money and we did a helicopter trip.
That's super cool.
Yep.
When Cal was talking about road rage and how some of these guys, it's like their first time getting out of the province. And I remember on our trips too, like we had some guys that maybe they'd been out of the province, maybe not, but when they'd see the mountains for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that, right? Like that, it was just so many firsts for these guys.
Yeah, faces glued to the windows.
Yeah.
Remember looking in the rearview mirror and seeing these kids' faces to the glass and just staring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's super cool.
That's a memory that I have of that. Just all the firsts for them, like some of them, driving into Saskatchewan, it's like, oh, this is the first time I've been outside of Manitoba.
Yeah.
And then, oh, this is the first time I've seen mountains or whatever.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of those firsts would be like back to back on the same trip.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of excitement for some of those guys and experiences that I know for a fact that a lot of them would say are still with them. Even like Matt Andrushak would have said last episode that, that the memories that were made in those times are lifetime memories. So
yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes it'd be almost good if we could have all of them, the old timers, come back and
have everyone
reminisce in a whole big room.
Yeah, you get a lot more stories because I'm sure we're forgetting stuff.
Yep. Well, we haven't talked about the shop with me.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
You moving into the shop upstairs here by YFC, it was just, that was a big change.
It was a big change, yeah.
Yeah. And I became a big part of that.
Yep.
Was that after Campbell Soup?
That was after Campbell Soup, yeah.
Okay.
When Campbell Soup closed, I think I mentioned it in past episodes how the scene in Portage just kind of was dying out. The guys just weren't connecting with each other, and it was hard to get anything going on. And so we thought we need a place where guys can meet up and to connect and keep each other hyped on skateboarding. And so Skate Shop has just a long heritage of being that place in the skate community, and we didn't have one in Portage, and so we thought, well, let's create that. And so even though a lot of it fell on me, Ritch was a big part of those early days because he was such a big part of the scene then, and part of like coming out of Campbell Soup, and for you too, you felt it that, you hung out with these guys a couple nights a week, and now where are you seeing them? Yeah. And so the shop was so critical for that.
At the time I was working for Ed's Glass.
Yeah.
And I'd get an hour off for lunch, and I would stop in at Little Caesars, pick up my pizza, pepperoni pizza for $5, come here and eat half of it for lunch, put the other half in the fridge, next day come back, eat the other half, and then I would do that every day of the week.
Every lunchtime.
Every lunchtime. And I did it for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah. He had Little Caesars every day.
And then Fridays
no breaks even. You just come work at the Like, were you working at the shop? Or were you
No,
just
I
hanging out
come
at the
and
shop?
hang out with the kids.
Oh, I thought you would like.
No, I
There you
didn't
go.
work.
So-
Well, if Steve had to go somewhere or whatever during lunch, I would watch the shop for him.
Oh, I see.
But no, I would hang out with the kids.
Yeah,
Cool.
because we were close enough to the high school, all the high school guys would come over for their lunch break,
Yeah.
and then he would show up here at lunch too. So it was just a big get together every lunch,
That's super cool.
which was awesome for the community and awesome for keeping like the scene thriving. Like
Yeah.
it was so good for that. It wasn't good for sales because people would come in and it would just be this crowd of skaters all hanging out, and people that maybe wanted to buy something, they were so intimidated because there were so many dudes hanging around, especially like high school girls. If they came over lunch, it was the worst thing for them.
It would be watching them play video games, watching skate videos with them, or playing. Oh, what was the name of that game with the armies taking over the countries?
Risk.
Risk.
Yeah.
Playing Risk with them, and then coming back, like not finishing that day.
Oh, for sure.
Coming back next
Risk
lunch,
takes so long.
and then kept playing Risk with those guys. That was awesome. And then I would work lots of times on Saturdays at the skate shop, and again, setting up decks, selling clothes, and and stuff like that. And then you did the T-shirts,
Right. We had the silk screen
machine.
machine.
Oh,
yeah.
did you?
Yeah, and Steve
That's
designed
sick.
made his own designs and started doing his own skate T-shirts.
Yeah, I didn't know you had the thing. I thought that you just like sent them off to get them made.
No, that's what Matt was talking about last episode, where with that T-shirt company, This Is For Us, that he did. And remember he said
because you
how
already had the machine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. I understand.
So so he would, let's do this brand thing. So
Yeah.
we did it. And,
Nice.
Yeah.
Built lots of friendships.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of friendships were built in those days.
You betcha.
Yeah.
Was because you said there was a time where the skate scene kind of died out. Was that between Campbell's Soup and then the opening of the shop?
Yeah.
So like once the shop came back, then a new scene kind of emerged, or what?
Yeah.
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 Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because some of the guys that would have been like regulars at the skate park in Campbell Soup, we would have lost them. Like when the shop opened, some of them didn't come back. A lot of them did. But
Yeah.
there were some that we kind of lost. Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely a hard time on the skate scene. And it's interesting if you look at the ages, there's kind of an age that we are missing because of that. Like,
Okay.
so Jaden, like guys his age, they would have been at the young end. Like, and then we had the high school guys. So we didn't really have any like middle school skaters because of that gap in time in the scene.
Yeah.
There weren't new ones coming in really in that age.
Yeah. But yeah, when the skate shop closed, that was hard to take. And
How long was it open for?
Just under 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that was tough time for sure.
yeah,
And again, it kind of left a gap in the community for skateboarders. Like all of a sudden, like we did have some spots to skate, and Long Plain was already built, so we had a skate park nearby. But yeah, it's
It's like the new, like I guess it's not new at all anymore. The Long Plain Park. When did, like what year did the shop close?
the shop closed in 2011.
I guess, yeah. I always think that the Long Plain Park's new, but I guess it's
No,
not
it's not. It must be 2010 or 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
I want to say 2010.
And
So
then-
yeah, and when the shop closed, that kind of, and you got married, and that
Yeah.
kind of ended your involvement in a lot of ways, because like I was gone, and
Yep.
um
You went to Costa Rica shortly after,
Yeah.
didn't you?
yeah,
And
shortly after that I left, and so there wasn't a lot going on for you to be part of.
Nope. And then if I met, Nick Wall or Matt anywhere, well, Matt moved to Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't talk to him much. I just met them around town and hung out and visit with them and stuff like that, and became more acquaintances. But the friendships, I think, are still there.
Yeah.
I invested a whole pile of my life.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming in and spending this time with us and taking us down memory lane.
You bet.
It was good.
Well, not for me, but
I guess not for you.
story time for me.
Story time, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's having your episode back to back with Matt's is kind of fun too, because it's a lot of the same memories and same place. So
yeah, me and Matt, I don't know. To me, he was always one of the special friends that I had here. He was really cool with me and really accepted me. And me and him, at one time, we bought matching rings. I was telling Steve about this. I don't know if Matt remembers, but there was an America ring and with their emblem on it, and I still have mine.
That's awesome.
I don't know if Matt still has his, but I worked for a long time.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's just been really good having you here, Rich.
Well, thank you very
much.
much.
So much.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thanks everyone for listening. And we actually have a new patron on our Patreon page. And so I just want to give a shout out to Adam Thompson for being a supporter. And we really appreciate it. We're glad to have you as part of our team.
Yeah.
And we're going to get you on for an episode sometime. So thanks again. And if you're interested, you can check us out at patreon.com/platformskate.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's an episode.
That's an episode.